Right guys, so as you see here, this is basically the nut slot and what we have to take a look at. And it's filled with paint and super glue from when they glued the nut in. So I just have my very sharp chisel here, and I'm just going to use that to basically clean out the nut slot in order to get any glue and basically clean up the nut slot so I can see the wood showing. And it's just going to it's going to take some work back and forth here in order to get it right, but it will be worth it because we will need the nut to sit flat and square in the slot in order to get everything to play well and play as it should. So you will always have to go in and clean up the nut slot and get rid of all excess glue and basically anything like that. And on this nut here as well, you can basically see that they glued the backside in as well. So there's a lot of glue on here. So I have to take a look at the side as well, but it's all about cleaning up the nut slot, and having a little chisel like this is just going to make it a lot easier for you to get in there and get everything done. So I'm going to crack on with this right now, and when I have it all perfectly cleaned up, we'll take a look at if the nut slot here is square. So stay with me guys and I'll be back in a bit. Right guys, so I have just cleaned up the nut slot here, and you can see we still have a little bit of paint sitting there, but it's not it's not going to interfere with the height or the squareness of the nut slot. So I have a feeler gauge here, and I just used the side to check the levelness, and we have a little gap but nothing major. And it's just it's looking good now. I can basically continue from here. So the nut slot is square, and the way I basically go about it is that I use a small needle file or Julius file here, and it's basically just it fits right in the slot, and it's just it makes it easier. It has one side which is grounded, so it doesn't have any teeth on it. And I just I go a little. I count the filings I do, so I might do 5 back and forth and switches and 5 back and forth, just in order to keep it nice and square. And I will take the feeler gauge here and just check it, make sure that we have everything right. And we had no chip out, no nothing, everything is fine. I can now move on to basically gauging the nut slot and taking a look at the bone blank that we're going to use. But I just I want to show you a couple of things here and give a couple of tips when you're working on nuts like this. This particular acoustic guitar right here wasn't actually that difficult to work on, because the nut itself, when seated in the slot, normally on guitars we have the nut wedged in between the fretboard and a higher side here from the veneer of the headstock. So the nut would on guitars like, let's say, a Gibson Les Paul for example, this headstock veneer right here would be sitting higher, causing the nut to be wedged in between those two sides. And even though if you still go around and score the edges, make sure you have scored every lacquer seam and just got it to where you think it's good. If you go in with a hammer and you try to gently, the word right here is gently, always gently when you're working on guitars. If you go in and tap gently and the nut isn't it will not come out, and you tap a little harder, you can risk up because this backside here might be a little taller. By keep tapping, you can you can break it loose, but you can also run the risk of taking big chunks out of the headstock veneer. And you can fix it with super glue, but it will still be visible. On this guitar right here, it doesn't really have that high of a back. I can kind of tilt it out right here, and when I run my finger on it, there's nothing, barely nothing. So check for that always. And as I started with the chisel, just giving it a light tap using my hand, just going a little at a time, and I could hear that the seam was just starting to loosen up. But if that wasn't the case, I would bring out my hacksaw and basically score it, or use it to cut down the middle of the knot itself. Basically here basically allowing me to have two parts of this knot now. So I would cut down until I was just a little above the nut slot depth here, and I would start tapping from the fingerboard side, get that loose, and then I would have more room to tap out the veneer or headstock side, because I would I've had more place or more space to basically tap it out this way, also allowing me that given that the lacquer seam is scored nicely, we would be able to tap it out with more space and less chip out. So that's another way you can do it. Yeah, but as I said, right now everything came out nice, and this is going, the rest from here is quite easy. So let me clean up the workbench here, find a couple of the tools that we're going to need to gauge the knot that we're going to use, and then we're going to take it from there, guys. So stay with me, I will be right back. Right guys, so here we are. The nut slot has been cleaned up. I have the bone blank right here that we are going to use. It's a nice and fine little piece, good quality, and right now it's just at its rough dimension. I also have my knot making sandpaper here, which basically consists of 320 grit, 240, and two different pieces of 120. The first piece right here is basically just your standard sandpaper, and it removes material quickly, which is nice when you have to do that. This right here is some sort of emery cloth, and some standard sandpaper again, and another piece of emery cloth. I like to start out using the standard size 120 grit, and basically just take it out of the piece here, or the pieces, and basically just get everything laid out here, and just having it on a flat surface. I might take it out and just just take it out and tape it down with some masking tape in order to keep it in place. I will take the knot. I would basically start by making sure that the bottom of whatever side I choose to use here, that the bottom is square. So I will take this machinist square right here, place it, take the knot, then take a pencil and just draw across, take it, sand it, and look for the inconsistencies here to see where I have high spots, low spots, anything like that. Make sure that the side I choose to use as the bottom here is as square as it can be, and that we are not ending up with any problems. From there I'm going to sand it to thickness, so we can fit it in the slot of the guitar over here. And this is basically what we'll have to do now. So I will take a pencil and draw across, and from there just get it down to where I think it looks square. And at first I will have to find the right face of the knot, looking at it to see which side is going to face the fretboard, and just make it look nice. from there, as I said, going to mark it, have the bottom squared up, and basically from there, thickness it to match the, to get a nice and snug fit over here at the guitar, at the nut slot. So let me get the camera positioned in an angle where you guys can see what I'm doing without my hands getting in the way most of the time, and then we're going to take it from there, guys. So stay with me. Right, guys, so we're back here, and as I said previous, I have just decided which side of the nut here is going to face the fretboard of the guitar, and I've just marked it so I know which side it is. I've also gone ahead and drawn across the bottom of the nut. We're going to make sure that it's flat. So I've laid out the sandpaper here, the 120 grit, and just to keep it nice and steady, I've just attached two strips of masking tape. Right now I'm just going to take the machinist square here and just place it on here, and I like to take my thumb and just hold it down here in order to make sure we have everything flat. And I can also turn it this way so you guys can see what I'm doing, and press it down, and I just like to put it up against and make sure that I'm right there, and just take the nut and slide it gently back and forth. Then take it up and take a look at it, and you can see we need to sand it a little more in order to get out all of the pencil marks. And we're basically, we're slowly starting to get there. So I will, this is basically what I will do, because we have to make sure that the nut slot and the bottom is square to get a good fit. Still have a little bit here in the middle that I need to take off. So we'll just, take our time, get it right. Still have a little bit, but we are slowly getting there. And it's all about taking your time when doing this, because you want it to be right the first time. Right now you can basically see we have nothing left on here. So I know that the bottom is square, but I can always check it, up against, I can always check it up against, the bottom. We can always see that it sits nice and square, and we have no problem there. The edges are where they need to be as well. So we are basically, we're good to go from there. And I now know that this side is perfect and just where it needs to be. So right now it's all about thicknessing the nut. And I basically like to thickness the back side. I've marked the front side, so I'll basically just start by thicknessing the back side. And I like to, you can draw on that as well if you feel like it. You can make a couple of markings just going across to watch your progress. I will take the nut and I will lay it, and I'll basically place 4 of my fingers on here, and I will count the times that I rub it back and forth. I will then turn it around and do the same thing, turn it around again, and continue like that in order to keep this piece as square as possible. So I will start by doing this right here. And when I've done so a couple of times, I will go back and check it. I will place it in the guitar to see, okay, how close am I getting? And we're starting to get somewhat close here, but I can't still fit it in the nut slot. So I have to go in and take off a little bit more, but we are approaching. So let's just do this right here. Still need a little more. We need it to be nice and tight, but not overly tight, because you want to be able to fit it on there to take it out and continue your work on it. Just clean off some of the dust and basically just, you know, try and fit it up there, and just keep marking the side so you know which side is what. And I still can't fit it quite, so we sand a little more. Make sure we clean it up. We can try and fit it again. And right now, I would basically say that I have a nice fit. I have a nice tight fit. I can get it in there without too much force, and I can remove it again without too much force. So this right here is ideal and basically what we want. I guess I could take one pass and then just, you know, call it quits. Yeah, and that made all the difference. So we basically have no problem there at all. Can slide it in nice and tight, and we don't have any problems. So we are basically good to go here. Yeah, everything's fitted, and this, you know, it didn't take that long. So I can basically start by, you know, taking the nut now and degrease it. Make sure that I get every, you know, fat out of this cow bone, because this haven't been bleached, so I still have some fat in it. And I will just take some, you know, regular window cleaner and do it, or rub it a couple of times with that, in order to basically take out all the fat. So from there I can basically, you know, bring out the tool so we can gauge the depth here, and insert the nut in the, you know, nut making vise, and basically start filing and shaping the nut. So thanks for watching so far, guys. I will be back with updates and you know, further videos showing this whole process. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. I will see you soon.